everybody. I'm Kevin Bachman with IQubed Advisors. I'm joined by Jason Morris and Bianca Lager. We're going to spend some time talking today about our pet peeves, most that center around marketing in the industry. Very excited. I think there's a number of things we're going to argue about today. We're going to feel differently about different things, but let's hop in. Jason, get us started. What's a pet peeve that you're seeing in the space these days?
The biggest pet peeve I have, Kevin, is right over your right shoulder. I got to tell you, the the New York Yankees beat the Cleveland Indians slash Guardians in the ALCS this week, and I couldn't be more heartbroken. Kevin, who's the biggest baseball fan that I've ever met, and the biggest Yankees fan I've ever met, he had no confidence the Yankees were going to win. So I had some confidence that the Tribe was going to win, and unfortunately, after some fantastic games, it didn't happen.
The Guardians, I think, are a heck of a team. They play baseball the right way. Yankees have a couple superstars, and they showed up. But the Guardians play really good baseball, and I was very worried. In fact, for everybody watching or listening here, this is the first time Jason and I have talked in a week. He's mostly just been sending me texts of middle
It's true.
fingers over the last
I've
four or
been
5 days. But
CC'd. It's true.
I am glad he brought it up because I did want him to look at this for the next half
Ouch.
hour or so that we're
Ouch.
talking. Uh, so that's
All
a
right.
that's a great reminder. All right, back to business though. Oh, by the way, I did go. So I am a walking jinx, by the way. So I went to the only game in this series the Yankees lost. The last three Yankee playoff games at Guardy or Progressive Field I've gone to have all been gut punch, kick in the nuts losses, walk offs by the Indians. I still call them the Indians. A guy almost took a swing at me because he said I touched him sitting next to me. So, yeah, so I had that. So the Yankees won, but I can't say my experience going and seeing a game live is great because they lose every single time. So next year, Jason, just buy me tickets to every game, and maybe it'll be different.
It's a pretty good strategy.
All right, back to the topic.
All right. So I would say as far as pet peeves or things that I just see marketing wise that bother me, is lack of professionalism. I think it's really important for companies to be very protective of their brand. Their brand represents everything about their organization, and kind of everything should flow from your brand. So I see people with great brands, and then they put marketing out that's not so professional, or it's too cutesy. I think that professional companies want to use professional companies, and I think that is something that is exhibited not only in your website, in your business cards, in your trade show booth, but all of your marketing materials as well.
Say more, Jason. So not professional. Like it's like they're trying to put too much personality in there, or like it's just off-brand stuff. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I think it's too much cutesiness. There was a couple of CRAs years ago, and I don't want to call anybody out, and I'm not saying it's not effective at all because this company had a great exit, but the stuffed animal stuff and the little cartoon charactery stuff, I just don't personally like
Yeah.
it. I think it's memorable. People certainly remember it, and it's good for some aspects of marketing. But when I walk into IBM or Apple or Microsoft to try to sell them on background screening, I don't want them to see a cartoon character. I want them to see professionalism behind me. Again, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bianca?
I mean, I'm with you overall. I think that like there's a time and a place maybe to like add some personality and flair into your brand, but you don't have to go down into the like way too cutesy with it. You know what I mean? It's such a hard thing I think for a lot of brands to do, because I also think that like there has to be consistency with it too. Like if this is just like who you are, you have like a mascot and you're going hard and you're leaning in, um, there's something that you can do with that and not go too far down into like the juvenileness of it. But I hear you. Like I think it's fun and whimsical to a point. Um and when people take it too far and people kind of just like overdo it, it just like dilutes who they are. And at the end of the day, like background screening, a lot of our customers are again highly regulated industries, things like that. So it's like you really do, I mean, that's well, it's like a subdivision pet peeve of your subdivision, which is like, know your audience, dude. Like, and like if you're selling to finance, like read the room. Like this is not necessarily gonna work for you. But yeah, I mean also it's just like a personal thing. Like you're just like, okay, boring.
Yeah, and that's really what I think about because at the end of the day, us, we are not the target market. We are not the buyers. So great, it drives us crazy, but who
Yeah.
cares? So I tend to think of it through the lens you guys are looking at it from. Like, what's the impact? How does it reflect on the business? How does it reflect on the brand? Um, I don't think your business is advanced anything by posting pictures of your company potluck on LinkedIn, your 11 employees in your nondescript office building. And listen, that's fine. There are hundreds of companies like that. We have all been there at that stage of our organization. But when you're telling me, when you're showing me like the grill in the parking lot and the potato salad and the macaroni salad of your 11-person company, and then you're going out trying to land an enterprise client, like that doesn't
Okay,
work
you're
for me.
wrong for that, Kevin. You're wrong for that. I'll say this. I think that like you I think people need to like up their content game is I think your problem with it. I think there's not a lot of entertainment value when you're just like, here's our potluck, whatever. But if you're making some sort of cool reel or like a video, you drop some music behind it, you make it a point, you put some personality behind it, and I'm entertained. Like there's a lot to be
Okay.
said for that. And I also say, and I advise clients too, that it's like some people do just need to kind of get their social media chops wet. And so I like them getting an effort out there and showing a little bit of the personification of the people. So if like the best you can do is a picture of you and your company at the potluck, start there. Like don't not do it because, it's not the best content, but at least get started, at least do something. So I give an A for effort in that category, I think.
So I'll re-raise you. I was ready to move on, but I'm going to re-raise you, Bianca, and I didn't even think about this.
But I have a counterpoint too, so go ahead.
Well, where are we going to be in 10 days?
Mhm.
It's Halloween. I'm going to see those same potluck
You sure are.
companies posting pictures wearing fuzzy noses and tiger costumes and like
Tiger
makeup, face
costumes.
paint. Like, I don't think that helps your business.
So
It is entertaining though, Bianca. It sure is.
this will be a good segue into what I want to talk about too. But I do think that there is a time and place for it, and I think humanizing your business is really important. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, humanizing your business. But there's a place for it because would I want to post that potluck on LinkedIn? No, but is it a good thing to put on your Instagram story or your company TikTok or something like that? Why not? Like
Yeah,
that's
mediums matter
for something
for
like
sure.
that. But not a post on LinkedIn. Hey, look at our Halloween costume.
Yeah,
You're just
can't wait.
my
Can't
feed.
wait. I'm going to see them all
Um,
next
You
week.
know,
but I will tell you,
I'll give everybody permission to go ahead and post their costume on LinkedIn, but I do think that there's a these gentlemen are making a fair point that it's like, it's going to get lost. It's so saturated with that. We're going to see so many of these people are going to scroll on by. You're not going to get the impression. It's like is the juice even worth the squeeze? Because it's just like it's like everybody else's. That being said, I think there's a lot to be said for adding that content to your page that like a prospect comes across months later and they're scrolling through your LinkedIn page and they try to get a sense of who you are. And I don't know, I like a company that dressed up for Halloween. I certainly don't like a company that's like a no costumes policy. So, maybe it's not for you, but keep on scrolling, guys. Keep on scrolling.
Spoken like
yeah,
a marketer. All
I
right.
do like the aspect of the humanization of it, and I want to go back to that because especially
Yeah,
now,
segue away, Jason.
what's that?
Segue away.
you know, Coming out of COVID and everybody's on Zoom and you're not seeing clients face to face as much as you used to. But even before that, humanizing their business and humanizing the people that you're working with on a daily basis, I think is really, really important. So when your biggest client can see that, you have a real personality behind your business, I think that goes a long way for people. for companies when they're making decisions and creating relationships with you, especially now with, nobody's in front of each other anymore. It's always through a camera. I think it's really important to have some of that human aspect to your marketing.
All right. What's next, Jason?
Okay, let's talk about wearing your opinions on your sleeve.
Oh, yeah.
This is something we've seen quite a bit over the last several years, especially as politics have gotten more and more polarizing. Um, Business isn't the place for that. I don't understand why a company would put something out politically knowing that it's going to alienate half of your client base. It's just not the time and place for it. I mean, if you want to do it, great, but I don't think that you should look at good things coming from it. I think only bad things can come from it. So it's something to be very, very careful of.
Michael Jordan always used to say, or maybe it's just attributed to him, but I remember this for like 30 years, Republicans buy shoes too.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
play it straight.
I think
Yeah.
I think for a background screening company, you need to stay away from this stuff. I think there are lots of different companies where it's kind of fine or even important that they just, have an identity in that way. But you're a background screening company, and your neutrality is really important when it comes to these things, even not just from a marketing perspective, but from a legal compliance perspective. And I'm talking from experience of a company that I ran, of course, Social Intelligence, that we would get a lot of heat all the time on social media, ironically, probably from folks that like had bad content on their profiles. But anyway, no, we would get a lot of heat, and it was like we were looked at as like Big Brother or like the super woke company or like lots of different things. And it was really important to us to not dive into those things. And I think that's the lens that we took it with our work too. Because I think that can really taint the concept and the premise of the service that you're trying to provide, which is like you're trying to go off the facts. And if there's some sort of perception that you are, biased in a certain way, one way or the other, that does not bode well, does not as our expert witness, Jason, like can't say that that's great look, right?
Right.
Yep, yep.
1,000%.
All right, Bianca, do you have one?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it kind of stems off of what we were talking about with social media, a little bit with political opinions too. But I think that what lacks in the execution there with like those pet peeves is I'm backing out to a higher level. Like you have a business plan and have a strategy. Like when you're posting on social media, when you're marketing, when you're any email that you sent, like you need to have a cohesive strategy or else none of it matters. Mailers, I could probably even like use that as its own pet peeve, but I think it's a really good example of something that is like they're fine, I guess, like if you want to go that route. Not my jam, but that's fine. If as long as it's part of you have a damn good reason and you have a strategic reason to do it, and it has a QR code where you can track its success and different things. But if you're just flailing, being like, we need to do emails to this group of people, and then we're also going to do an email to this group of people, and post about this because we had a potluck, it's just messy. It's messy, and you're not actually driving growth or driving traffic. So you have to see the forest for the trees. You have to back up, and you have to really prioritize your goals out of here and like what you want to get out of these activities, or else you're literally just wasting my time, your time, everybody's time. So thoughts, hot takes, what do you think?
Go for it, Kevin. I don't have any comments.
Yeah, that blends into something that's always, again, LinkedIn activity that really drives me crazy. Hey, we're closed for President's Day. Hey, happy Columbus Day. Like,
not the Mickey Mouse
teach me
voice.
something. Yeah, like your brand, your content. If I'm on LinkedIn, if I'm engaging, I only get so many opportunities to show you something, teach you something, draw you in toward me. And telling me to have a happy whatever day, it doesn't, like, again, it's the same idea around the potlucks. It just makes you look small. And beyond that, I think you just miss an opportunity to engage on a deeper level. Throw that on top of what Bianca's saying, the consistency of the message, and yeah, sometimes, activity and accomplishment are not always the same thing.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times people lose sight of that.
I want to meet you halfway on this because I know you're how irritated you get every holiday season when LinkedIn is just exploding with Happy Thanksgiving. When we started in business, it was very common during the holidays. We did this. We would send our
I
clients like
know.
huge chocolate trays and
Mhm.
flowers and cards and our chocolate trays that we would send out every Christmas were so good that one year a client didn't get one because it was coming a day later, and they called us and yelled at us because they were so good and they expected it every year. And with corporate bribery stuff, like a lot of that kind of went away. Your ability to even do that went away. Companies don't want you to send them anything anymore, especially when everybody's working at home now. So I just wonder if the reason that's gotten so big and posting these things on LinkedIn is because you can't send those things out anymore. Um, just an opinion.
I think people also just like, and this is again like piece of advice when you're kind of getting started. Like if you're trying to make a social media presence and you really don't know what to do, yeah, is it kind of lazy? Yes. Is it like an easy thing to do? Yes. But I don't think the intention behind it is bad necessarily. I think again, like if you're active on there, I think that that's actually a really valuable thing for prospects to scroll through someone's LinkedIn and be like, are they actually active? Are they actually a company that is reputable? Do they actually have some activity on here? Those things are meaningful. So if you have a marketing department of one or not very many, and you just don't have a lot of bandwidth to give towards creative content strategy, then I'm not going to discourage you not to do it. But I would say that, yeah, I mean, there's a lot more interesting things that you could talk about. That's for damn sure.
What about this,
To
Kevin?
me, it just comes across unsophisticated.
What if the posting was this? Hey clients, hey prospects, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. All courts will be closed. We'll see you on Monday. Happy Thanksgiving.
That's what we get now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we get. I think it's now, unlike the potlucks, right? Like Checker's not posting potlucks, so the sophistication argument I think plays there. But everybody from the largest on down does their happy Thanksgiving. You're the 97th company that wished me a happy Thanksgiving, so I'll take it one step further. In a vacuum, yes, thank you for wishing me a happy Thanksgiving. You're engaging with me, you're personal, whatever. But everybody else is doing the same thing. And I don't know how people are on holidays, but I don't know people that just shut it off for 5 days. It's like you're still on LinkedIn, you're still on the internet, you got nothing to do. Like, be the one out of 97 that tells me something different. Engage with me in a different way. So, my beef is not only from sophistication and value, it's about, like, man, that's your chance. And you did the same thing everybody else did.
So the way to clear that in a nutshell,
Yeah, like, I
hates
don't
Thank-
even remember that you wished me happy Thanksgiving because everybody else did the same thing.
in a nutshell,
But
Kevin.
maybe you can be the one that told me
Like
something different.
what? Like what?
I don't know. That's where the marketing comes in.
That's
Like,
your job,
yeah,
Bianca.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Tell me a better story.
Yeah, and I would say it's like it's all about the delivery too. Like Kevin is not entertained,
Yeah.
guys. Kevin is not entertained by your picture of a turkey. So step it up, make a more interesting content. And
Yeah.
I'll say this, that like if it takes like 5 seconds of brain power to do your turkey content, fine. It's harmless. Like you're not gonna really make anybody mad except for Kevin. Kevin might judge you.
J-
Um,
Jason gave it. Well, Jason gave a great example, and this is where I think he was going to go. Like, we used to, and I used to write these letters to clients, to employees.
yeah.
We'd send them out, and
Well,
it's
it's
and,
different.
and
It's
it's
quality
but
content.
but the connection is like, hey, it's these times when families gather
Yeah.
and they give thanks, and they celebrate with their families, and the importance of having a job, and The work that we do is meaningful, and it's not just names and social security numbers. This impacts families, it impacts lives. Like, this is why we do this, and we're proud to do it, and then tie that into Thanksgiving.
I would
I didn't just say Happy Thanksgiving. We're grateful.
Yeah.
I'd
It's
rather
just
see
more.
effort, all the effort that you're doing to post that, and say, hey, we're not going to be very busy between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'm going to pick up the phone and call all my clients and say, happy holidays. Is there anything more I can do for you before the year ends up? Have a great vacation. Like, use that effort and turn it into something more personal.
And
pick
you
up
know
the
what?
phone calls.
I'll one up that as well and say, catch it on camera, catch the content, splice it together, and share that on social media.
Yes. All right, can I take the next
Go
one?
for it.
Yeah.
This has been a pet peeve of mine for about 20
Oh, I'm
years.
excited.
We all at a trade show, you get the books. Here's a PBSA book, right? But you go to the SHRM shows. You look through, you read the vendor descriptions, right? And I used to count these. I like counting things, right? I remember 20 years ago, SHRM show, New Orleans, Atlanta, 75 CRAs. Well, that's a lot, right? 75 background checkers going to a SHRM show. And you flip through. And what do you see? Leading provider, global provider, leading provider, leading provider, leading provider. I'm the best. I'm the best. And it's like, and now, so we take that, look at it on LinkedIn. You're a leading provider. Dude, I checked out your LinkedIn page. You have 31 followers. You are not leading anything. So aside from, again, it just infuriating me, how does that reflect on the brand? Again, it doesn't matter what I think. How does it reflect on the brand? You're trying to show that, like, everything you do falls apart once you tell me you're a leading provider and I see 31 followers on LinkedIn. You're automatically disqualified.
It's just like that scene in Elf where he sees the sign that says "World's Greatest Cup of Coffee," and he runs into the store and he's like,
Yeah.
"Congratulations!"
You did it.
Best
What am
burger in Ohio.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like my kid's favorite scene. Like, you did it, guys. Yeah.
On that.
Yeah. Like, am I wrong? Leading provider. Maybe someone's like, "Ooh, you're a leading provider. Okay, I'll buy."
No, it's a lazy,
But again, everyone's saying the same thing. Say something different.
lazy. Like it's beyond lazy. You have not only like really talented content marketers that have worked in this space for a long time. They're great copywriters. They're people who have even non-working in this space, that you can find as a freelancer. Like, you have the ability and the resources. There are people out there that can help you with this kind of stuff. You also have ChatGPT, who you can literally say, instead of the word premiere, give me some new ideas to talk with. It's just really lazy copy, I think, that people come back to. And this is a powerful exercise, and I challenge people to do this in the marketing space, is to say, okay, like, why are you saying premiere? Well, because, we want to sound X, Y, and Z. Well, then what are you really? If you're not the premier, I don't even know what that means. I think it's so it's so diluted that it's like, come on, like, we don't even hear that anymore. So what are you? What are you really good at? What is it that makes you shine? And what is it that you want to highlight about your brand? If you want to say you're the premier background screener in Minnesota, I think that's at least a little bit better and a little bit more meaningful. I would probably,
And it's
and
authentic.
and I would probably remove the word premiere and use another word, but be specific, guys. Be specific.
I tend to believe that if you're saying something and people are pissed off about it, you're probably doing it right. And we did two of those things. And I think, I don't remember ever saying the leading background screening company, but we did do something that people called and they were upset about in the industry. And we said, Employee Screen IQ, the pre-employment screening company. That's all we said. Now, the second thing we did that really rattled some cages
2%.
is we counted up every background screening, every pure play background screening company
2%.
and how many of them were accredited. And we said, of 2% of backgrounds, or we're one of 2% of all background screening companies that are accredited. It was a true statement. People didn't like it very much because it was true. So
yeah, find something about you that is powerful, unique, that is true, that is statistically relevant, whatever it is that can be tangible and can be touched. that is real about you, that makes you actually stand out rather than just say, oh, like, we're the best. Like, I'm sorry, but nobody's Googling premiere background screening near me. You know what I mean? Like that, it's an empty word and it's not helping you. So move on, please.
Love it.
I mean, what's stopping somebody from just putting out number one background screening company
Oh,
in the
they
industry?
do. I mean, they do.
Yeah.
You see it all the time and you're like,
All right.
I'm going to monitor my blood pressure after this. This is going to be a bad number today. Be a bad number. All right. Another one, guys. We're about a half hour in, or do we move to final
I have
thoughts?
one, just
Because I
small
could do
one.
this all day.
Yeah. The
I
small
got
one
a
I have
list.
is just is throwing a bunch of shit against the wall marketing wise when you have so many ways that you can qualitate is it quantitate
Date.
the result. You
Yes,
have
numbers.
Numbers,
available
Numbers
tools.
is quantity.
You can tie leads and sales and efforts. It used to be that you just knew your cost per lead or cost per sale, but now there's so many different things you can know. So if you are going to throw a bunch of crap against the wall, track it and make sure that you're able to rate what's working, what's not working.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, oh my gosh, I could literally, this is its own podcast and it's a really important one to bring up. I mean, one of the first things I do generally as a marketing advisor when I'm talking to companies and is to get the data in order. Get the CRM in order, or if we're not using a CRM, then we need to understand what is going on in our revenue ops. They go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. And of course, like the more mature and sophisticated of a company you are, generally speaking, this is something that you at least have the basics down for. But it's questionable whether you're looking at the right things and whether you're actually feeding that revenue ops data back into marketing. I'm really big on like do the things that work and get results and drop the rest, right? So you need to
Yeah.
collect the data first and you need to do some experimentation to know if this will work, if this will resonate with your audience. But you need that feedback loop constantly to say, we got really good results here. We, moved these levers, whatever else. And then these activities, either we don't collect data on, we can't, or whatever else, then don't do it because we don't have time for that, and we can only really prioritize the things that are really impactful and really meaningful. So that is like step number one. And it always seems counterintuitive. Everybody always thinks that there's some creative campaign or we're going to talk about like the way certain things look or whatever else, and it's always about the data first. It's always making sure you get your house in order there.
One of my biggest objectives and goals, and I think we all have this as advisors, and one of the things that frustrates us the most is unrealized opportunity. That's where all this comes from. Like,
Indeed.
I don't care what you post on LinkedIn. There's 400 CRAs, okay? But I would love to help CRA number 272 become the best version of themselves and capture those opportunities that are there. And I think the last couple minutes really, really hits at that. There are so many opportunities to separate, differentiate, grow. The middle market has been hollowed out by M&A. There is room for 5 to 10 companies to go become the next 50 to $100 million companies in our space. I believe that in my heart. So when we think of these things that we're talking about, what I'd call kind of the unprofessionalism of marketing, is really where I see one of the greatest opportunities to close that gap and why some of these things drive us crazy. On the other side of this wall, my wife runs a marketing communications company. They are an agency, which means they are not, a brand that has a marketing team. They are an outside marketing agency that works with a bunch of different brands, kind of like what our business is, right? The unprofessionalism that I speak of is like when organizations say, well, let's have Joan try marketing, or Mikey might be able to do this. And like, you commit dollars because you got to pay Joan, you got to pay Mikey, but you're not actually getting anything out of it because they're not marketers. And there's great marketers in our space, right? So I'm not talking about all marketing people, but like, I don't know what's super sexy about being a background check marketer inside of a CRA. I'm not saying you got to go outside and hire an agency, but what I am saying is try to at least hire a professional and don't just be like, well, let's try it this way or let's try it that way because we think it's going to be 30% less than finding a professional. You're just not getting much bang for your buck. Go get what you need and professionalize and utilize some of those things Bianca was talking about. That's what drives me crazy.
No, totally. I mean, it's not like you're not playing the same game as you are with like getting your margins better on your product, right? You're not playing the same like, well, why would I pay this when I could just get this and then, whatever. There is a quality factor here that is become, I think, all the more important with ChatGPT, with all sorts of other things. And I mean, we have people in our talent pool at iQubed that are really good at these things that like actually have like a marketing background. They know how to utilize AI tools in the best sort of way that can get the best results and have that business strategy tied in. I mean, I don't know why this is so common. And I mean, enlighten me, guys. Maybe you do, but it's like, why does marketing sometimes feel like it's like in its own little side world when like the best companies, as we know, it is you have a marketing always has a high level seat at the table, and we are very integrated in what the business goals are. I feel like
Yep.
the more sophisticated your company gets, the more people understand that. So like, why is that lost in translation with CRA number 272? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, yeah, you go first, Jason.
About what?
Okay, so I'm going to go first because I have an opinion. Um, I'll tie it back to that unsophistication,
Yeah.
Bianca. I think, and I have this conversation a lot. I had it as recently as Thursday, where a company will say, okay, we'd like to try this. We'll dip our toe in the water. And if it works, then we'll
Yeah.
invest.
Yeah.
It's the other way
Yeah.
around. I think sophisticated companies know that marketing has a seat at the table. They know it's important. They know it is like the phone call from the $5,000 a year revenue client that needs a call back. Like that can't come before the marketing meeting that you already have on the books for 2 o'clock. Like do the marketing meeting. Don't whack the mole. Like commit to it as a function that can help drive your business. So I think it's that idea. I think it's that relationship of, well, if this works, then we'll spend. No, you got to spend money. You have to make an investment. You have to think strategically and
Yeah.
just understand, not the other way around.
Yeah. And that commitment, right? Like, you've probably been burned. Maybe a lot of people have been burned and like by, oh, we hired this consultant and we gave them 30 grand and, our numbers aren't anybody off. It's like, you know what? Like working with somebody for a couple weeks just isn't really gonna move the
Yeah.
needle. Like it's a long-term game and you really have to commit to building sustainable processes and systems in your business that you execute every day in, day out, and you keep consistent with it.
Yeah.
So,
Pulling the plug too soon.
yeah.
That's a common
Yeah.
error, especially among smaller companies. Pull the plug too
Right,
soon.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
It's,
Final thoughts. Good to great examples today, Jason.
yeah, so I had a lot of fun. I wrote an article, a blog article on our website last week about one of my favorite books, Good to Great. It's a book that Kevin and I would talk about on a pretty regular basis when we're running Employee Screen IQ. Um, and I wrote the article about how to apply it to the background screening industry. And originally, I told you guys at the beginning of this, before we started, that I want to talk about making clients go wow. But I changed my mind because that's very vanilla, and everybody knows that, and everybody should be doing that. Doing something to make your clients go out. But as we were talking today, I went into my notes and I wrote something down a couple years ago when I was watching Full Swing. It was a documentary on Netflix about the best golfers in the world. And I love watching documentaries about athletes because of what it takes to be the best of the best of the best. And what I wrote down from watching these documentaries, and I read some books. I read the book about the guy that started Nike, and I read the guy that's in charge of Disney, and these are the best companies in the world, right?
Yeah.
So what I wrote down was, it's easy to be good, and it's easy. It's easy to be a good golfer. There's 100,000 good golfers that are below a 15 handicap in the United States. It's hard to be great,
Yeah.
and it's almost impossible to be the best. But to be the best of the best of the best, you got to sacrifice it all and give 100%, 110% of the time. And if you still don't make it, you never give up and you try again. And that's what separates the best of the best of the best from the best. And I think as you're building a business, you want to think about those things on a pretty regular basis. And, there's a lot of background screening providers out there. Why should somebody choose me? And I can't just say I'm the best. What am I doing to prove that I'm the best of the best of the best? A good example I would give, and it just came to mind, I wasn't going to even mention it, but our first major client, Fortune 50 company, Progressive Insurance. Went from being the number 4 vendor to being the number 1 vendor within 6 months. They loved us. And one of the things that solidified that was, we had to prove to them that we salt tested and we tested our vendors and made sure that we were doing all the things we said that we were going to do. And after they gave us the whole account, we did a test and we found out that we missed a felon, and that they hired. And I remember calling the head of the account, Lynn, and I was like, I don't even know how to tell you this. And she's like, what? I thought we were going to lose the account. And she's like, this is one of the best calls I've ever gotten because, that's not exactly what she said, but the fact that we said we were going to do something, we did something, and we were honest about when we screwed up.
Yeah.
They were our largest client for over 10 years because they relived that moment.
Yeah, we didn't need to make that phone call.
What's that, Kevin?
Yeah, it's like, you did, how many people are going to make that phone call?
Right. So, what about you?
Go ahead, Bianca.
No, I love that story. It goes a long way too. I think just in my own experience with the same thing. It's like you own up to it, you get down to the root of it, and you probably built more trust with that customer in that phone call than all the perfect scores and perfect results that you could have delivered over any time. So and that you got ahead of it. I think it's really meaningful that happened. So anyway, I love that. I'm thinking about my good to great tip of the week. Now we're, going to try to make this a practice now because I think it's just such a good idea to give really tangible, helpful tips out there. It's hard, folks. Running your businesses day in, day out, it ain't easy. And there's a lot of those really terrifying moments where you're picking up the phone going, cool, this is going to change everything because we made a mistake. So I'm thinking about it more internally. I'm thinking it's something that I used to talk about at Social Intelligence all the time. And one of our kind of themes, mottos, different values that we had was service as an attitude. And of course, first and foremost, brought that to our customers, right? How can we help you have a service oriented attitude? I've always gravitated towards servant leadership, although I think that title needs a rebrand. That's a whole another podcast. I think that one of the important tips that I have for people to make you go from good to great is to take that service as an attitude that you have towards your customers and think about it towards your employees, especially as a leader, especially as somebody who is managing other folks, is responsible for their livelihood or whatever else. I always say it's better to be a guide on the side and be there to help guide your folks to grow their careers, grow their ambitions. You're never going to make your revenue goals if your employees aren't in careers that they love. So understanding how to be service oriented as a leader, and create that kind of culture within your own organization, I think translates automatically to customers. So if you want to execute on that really well, know that you have your employees back, and the way that you show up for them is going to be the same way you show up for your customers.
Treat your employees like gold, and they will in turn do the same thing for your clients.
Indeed.
I totally agree. Mine is building off the good to great examples, and why not combine a good to great example with a pet peeve? Mine is putting the right people in the right seats on the bus. Some of that concept is internally making sure that the team you have is in the right roles, of course. But I'll expand it a little bit to a phrase I've been thinking a lot about the last week, and it certainly is a tie-in to pro sports. And my phrase is just go shit excellence. Sports teams don't finish 500 or have a losing season and say, Okay, this is my team. Hope I do better
Again with
next
the Mickey
year.
Mouse.
Coming back with that Mickey Mouse voice. Um, like, go get better, go be better. Um, and Bianca and Jason can attest that the number of organizations we work with that have employee performance problems, and I'll give you, a quick example. A client who has a salesperson, they're not hitting their numbers, and their goal is 100 outbound calls a week. And, client calls me and they say, "Hey, I checked the phone logs. I talked to Johnny, and Johnny said he made 12 calls today. And I checked the phone logs, and he hasn't picked up the phone once in 6 hours. What do I do?" This has been happening for weeks. I'm like, why is the person not in their car pulling away from the parking lot right now? Like, why is this person on your team? Why do you continue to tolerate this? Organizations that are successful and make that leap from good to great just decide, to Jason's comment earlier, they just want to be great. They do the things that make them great. They don't tolerate things that sports teams won't. Like, you're not going to magically be a different kind of organization. You're not going to magically grow. You're not going to magically increase your profits if you are not always looking to build the strongest possible team. And an environment like today's, with M&A, with a lot of layoffs in our space, there is, and Jason and Bianca mentioned it a minute ago, we have an entire roster of candidates that are looking for their next new opportunity.
Yeah.
And if those people formed a CRA, that would be an incredibly amazing CRA. Yeah. And they are here and they are ready and they are waiting for that next opportunity. And organizations are just like, well, Johnny's been here 6 years and Johnny really doesn't listen and he fights with me a lot and he doesn't do what I ask him to do. But, oh well, how do I fix that, Kevin? Like, you can't fix it with Johnny. You got to go hire a Jake.
Yep.
That's how you fix it. So,
From State
good to
Farm.
great, right seat on the right bus. Go shit excellence.
Go shit excellence.
That's
Here.
my final takeaway.
Love to see it. Clip it.
Bianca, you want to take us home?
Oh, I'll take us home. Oh, I love to see it. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining. It's such a pleasure to be here with Jason and Kevin and hear about their baseball rivalry. My poor Padres went out a little earlier than expected, but those Dodgers, Kevin, we'll see how that goes. Thank you all so much for joining us again with IQubed Advisors. Please go visit our brand new sparkly website. There's so much great info on there with the experience that Jason and Kevin have. I've been able to put a little bit of a spit shine on it. So hopefully you'll be able to check out all the cool services that we have, expert witness, recruiting services, and of course, consulting to help support the growth of your company. Thank you all so much. We'll see you in a couple weeks. I think we'll get on the mic again.